Besides beer, hockey, and beautiful women, our country has another huge phenomenon known around the world: the arms industry, with an incredibly rich history. Even though these machines and weapons didn't bring us world peace, they definitely made us world famous. Let's now take a look at the true Czech legends of the arms industry, our Czech gems from our arms factories. But before we get to the actual pieces, we need to look back a bit into history and talk a little about the roots of our arms industry. The roots of arms manufacturing. Thanks to its location in the center of Europe, our country has always been the scene of many conflicts and wars. As is well known, technological progress is the key to gaining military superiority, and war accelerates technological progress. Everything here started already during the Hussite Wars. The first primitive hand cannons that the Hussites began to use at that time were called pistoli. It is probably from this word that today's worldwide use of the term pistol originates. Even though these weapons had more of a psychological than a truly deadly effect at that time, they laid the foundation for the future development of firearms. The real industrial boom, however, occurred in the 19th century under the rule of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. In 1825, the legendary ammunition factory Celia and Belet was founded. Its establishment was closely connected with the technological development of ammunition at that time, such as percussion rifles, needle guns, and the first modern self-contained cartridges. Founded in 1859, Škoda Plzeň started as an industrial machine factory and gradually expanded. The development of Plana was driven by the development of ammunition until it became the largest industrial enterprise in all of Austria-Hungary. After World War I and independence, driven by ammunition development, the new state needed arms. Artillery, thanks to Škoda, became the First Republic's strength. Armored technology also developed rapidly thanks to the fierce competition between Škoda and Czech AD. And so was the aviation industry. The successes quickly became apparent, including in the massive export of our weapons. In the 1930s, things started to get tense, and the danger from Nazi Germany began to grow. The Czechoslovak government strategically decided to move the key arms industry as far away from the western borders as possible. That's why the most modern factory for aircraft machine guns was built in the east at that time, in Uherský Brod. The famous development plan was focused on the development of ammunition, which was the main area of progress. What you can also be proud of, and what is also famous and beautiful, is leaving a like, developing, and sharing the video plan on social networks, where you tag my own accounts, so I would really appreciate it if you go and do that now. Besides that, of course, you can also support my existence in other ways, which we will talk about at the end of this video. Today we're going to talk about weapons here, but we'll be talking about ammunition, fans and enthusiasts of history. At the same time, all the footage you will see shows people who have shooting licenses and legally own firearms, using them in designated places such as shooting ranges or areas intended for this purpose. So, the development took place in complete legality and absolute safety, exactly the way you should use it as well, if you ever do. But now let's move on from development and ammunition to the first weapon in our ranking of absolute Czech legends and gems, the most copied phenomenon. This semi-automatic pistol was partially based on the design of the American weapon Browning high-power HP-35. The development plan was radically different. It featured a classic double-action trigger. This innovation in ammunition, which appeared for the very first time during the development plan, immediately earned recognition. The ammunition immediately placed the CZ-75 among the legendary classics. The development plan was about ammunition, which was the result of continuous innovation in ammunition. The reason for it being copied is not only the undeniable quality of this weapon, but also the fact that the communists did not patent this weapon, so anyone around the world who wanted to could copy it. And now, here's a little collector's curiosity. A unique version called the CZ-75 Automatic was also created. It had a third selector position for fully automatic fire, a groove in the front part of the frame for a spare magazine that served as a front grip, and an extended perforated barrel that worked as a muzzle rise compensator. Only 2,700 of them were made, and today they are highly valued among collectors. Do I happen to have an owner of this interesting piece here? Or maybe someone from CZ itself? Definitely let us know in the comments if you own this weapon or if you've at least shot with it. Honestly, sometimes I'd like to go to the shooting range again, but now let's take a look at another legendary piece of our gunsmithing. The Vzor 61 submachine gun, the legendary Škorpion, manufactured at the Czech Armory between 1963 and 1968. Škorpion is the definition of perfect compactness. It weighs only 1,280 grams without the magazine, and with the stock folded, it measures just 269 millimeters. Although it uses the weaker 7.65 Browning pistol cartridges and was originally developed for police and security forces, the Army eventually adopted it as a weapon for drivers, tank crews, and special units. Its compactness also became its downfall on the international stage. It became extremely popular among terrorists and mobsters because it could be easily hidden under a jacket or in a backpack. Of course, it also found its place in gang wars. A small inconvenience for shooters in practice is the fact that when firing, the submachine gun ejects the casing straight up. They can easily fall down your collar and burn your chest quite unpleasantly. You could say they warm your heart. A fun movie fact. In the movie Matrix 2, Neo uses two Škorpiks against his enemies. The fact that Škorpiks made it into the Matrix confirms their cool effect. But there's one mistake in the Matrix, and that's that Neo is firing rifle rounds from this pistol caliber weapon. Do you think it was a mistake because the creators lacked knowledge? Or did they just decide that if there were only small pistol casings falling in the shot, it wouldn't look as cool? But now let's move on to the next weapon. Vzor 58 submachine gun. Although we still call it a submachine gun today, technically it's an assault rifle. Its development began in 1956 and it entered service in 1959. It uses 7.62 rifle cartridges and a standard 30-round magazine. It immediately replaced the older models Vzor 52 SA-24 and SA-26 in service, and over 25 years of production, more than 920,000 units were made. Although at first glance it looks like the famous Kalashnikov AK-47, it is not a copy of it, and it does not share a single common or interchangeable part with the AK. That's because Czechoslovakia in the 1950s, in contrast to the rest of the Warsaw Pact, pushed through and defended before the Soviet comrades the development of a completely original rifle. It was accurate, had a simple design, was easy to maintain, and worked in extreme climatic conditions. It was simply a sturdy weapon for the People's Army, a reliable tool that worked absolutely perfectly even in the hands of a complete fool. Perfect for the People's Army. I think even I, who can't keep a cactus alive, could take good care of a weapon like this so it would have a beautiful and long life. Write to me about your personal experience with this weapon, or if you've ever lost it like a certain soldier Slick. However, it's worth mentioning one interesting movie tidbit. In the film Lord of War, Nicolas Cage looks into a Ukrainian warehouse full of AKs. In reality, though, it's a Czech warehouse in Milovice, and the AKs aren't actually AKs, but Verzen 58 rifles. For a Western viewer, the similarity is more than enough, and for filmmakers, it's a much cheaper option. Light machine gun Vzor 26. This air-cooled infantry machine gun was developed in 1924 by designer Václav Holláš, and it entered service in the Army in 1928. It served with the infantry as well as a mounted weapon in armored vehicles. Just like the Model 24 rifle, it used the powerful 7.92 Mauser cartridge, which greatly simplified Army logistics at the time. The machine gun experienced huge export success to Romania, Bolivia, Yugoslavia, and especially to China. You can still see it today in almost every Chinese movie about World War II. After the occupation of Czechoslovakia, it was immediately adopted and actively used by Waffen SS units as well. But it became most famous in British hands. The British licensed version, Bren. Its name is a combination of two cities, Brno, where it was designed, and Enfield, where it was manufactured in Great Britain. The British adapted it for their .303 British ammunition, and after the war, even for the .308 Winchester, that is, 7.62 NATO. So it's one of the best light machine guns ever made. Bolt-action rifle Model 24. When it was necessary to rearm the infantry from the old rifles of the Austro-Hungarian era, Czechoslovak designers turned to the proven, robust, and extremely reliable German Gewehr 98 Mauser system. A rifle was created that is still considered one of the best bolt-action weapons of its time. Zbrojovka Brno produced them until the end of the 1930s. By the end of the 20th century, almost 1.5 million units had been exported, making it the largest exporter of military rifles on the planet. Most of the units were shipped to China and Romania. In distant Iran, it became so famous that the local soldiers started calling it Brno, after the Moravian capital where the weapon originated. And it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that these rifles, together with the Model 58S and of course the Škorpion submachine guns, often made up a large part of the arsenal of the good old Taliban fighters. Yes, rifles in the Taliban are simply passed down from generation to generation, and the Model 24 has had a long life, but in good hands, it can keep serving. The history of Czech weapons clearly shows the amazing craftsmanship and technological ingenuity of our designers. Weapons like the CZ-75 Škorpion Model 58 or the Bren light machine gun not only formed the backbone of our army, but also made an impact on global history from World War II through the Civil War in China to the modern conflicts of our time. Today's Czech arms manufacturers successfully continue this fantastic legacy and are undeniable proof that the Czech Republic still has much to offer the world in the field of the defense industry. Well, we'll see if any of today's weapons, like the CZ-600CZ Shadow 2 or CZ-P10, will make their way into world history. All of these are weapons that are very popular today. However, weapons often make history in wartime, and I've heard that the Bren is doing quite well in Ukraine. Now the Bren 3 is being developed. Who knows what it will be capable of? However, let me know in the comments which of the weapons mentioned today you consider to be the biggest legend, and also which of today's weapons you think will be remembered in the future as an absolute masterpiece. But that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brought back some memories, and I hope you'll be eager to write something here about how I missed something, said something wrong, or didn't mention the most important thing in the world, or that something has a spring somewhere that's different. That would be absolutely great if it showed up in the comments. But now, of course, I have to ask you to give a like, share this video, or maybe send some money through the QR code or super thanks if you really enjoyed the content. We'll see each other again next time. Check out more videos that the algorithm picked for you, or just find something else, and take care.